Hi guys, Mr. Lambert here, and today we are going to go over how to solve algebraic equations. Now, what I mean by that is if I have my equation here and I have a variable or an unknown number, we're going to use addition or subtraction in order to find out what that unknown number or that variable is. In this case, it's x. There's a couple things I want you guys to remember when you're solving these problems. First off, the equal sign is like the middle of a balance scale. Whatever we have on one side, we have to have the same amount on the other to balance it. That also means whatever we do, add or subtract on one side of the equal sign, we have to do the exact same thing to the other side of the equal sign. The second thing I want you guys to remember is to use inverse operations. Inverse operations means the opposite operation. So the opposite of addition is subtraction. The opposite of multiplication is division. Now the first equation I have is x plus 7 equals 15. Well, since I am taking my variable and I'm adding 7, I want to use the inverse operation. I want to subtract 7. And since I subtract 7 on one side of the equal sign, I have to subtract 7 on the other side of the equal sign too. Remember, whatever I do on one side of the scale, I have to do the same thing to the other to keep that scale balanced. So, 7 minus 7 is 0, and 15 minus 7 is 8. Because I want to get this x, this variable, by itself. And since I have 7 attached to it, I have to subtract that 7 to get it by itself. Now, x plus 0 is just the same as x because I'm adding nothing to it. And 15 minus 7 is 8. So, x equals 8. If I plugged my 8 up here where the variable is, 8 plus 7 does equal 15. Now that takes us to our next problem. X minus 9 equals 16. Now I have to use inverse operations to get this variable x by itself on one side of the equal sign. So since I'm using inverse operations, I'm going to add 9 because since I'm subtracting 9, I want to add 9. And since I add 9 to the left-hand side of the equal sign, I have to add 9 to the right-hand side of the equal sign to keep my scale balanced. Now, minus 9, or a negative 9 plus 9 equals 0. 16 plus 9 equals 25. So x plus 0, I don't need this plus 0 anymore because I'm not adding anything to it. I'm adding nothing to it. So x equals 25. Again, if I take my 25 and I plug it back into the x, 25 minus 9 does equal 16. Now, I have a number at the front, but it doesn't say if I'm adding or subtracting. Well, actually it does. Since this doesn't have a negative sign in front, this is a positive 4, and we're adding the x to get 16. So, since I have a positive 4, I want to subtract 4 from it. 4 minus 4 because I want to get this x by itself. 4 minus 4 is going to equal 0. And 16 minus 4 is going to equal 12. And I'm not doing anything to my x, so it's going to drop down here. 0 plus x equals 12. Well, if I'm adding nothing to my x, I can get rid of that 0 plus, and now I just have x equals 12. Again, I plug my 12 up here into my x. 4 plus 12 does equal 16. Now I'm going to show you one more kind of problem. 10 minus x equals 3. Right here I'm subtracting my variable. I have a negative x. I want to have a positive x. So I'm still going to use my inverse operation. But this time, as you see, I'm adding x to it. Okay. to both sides. So negative x and a positive x is just nothing. It's 0. And 3 plus x is just 3 plus x. So I have 10 on this side because a negative x and a positive x equals nothing, equals 3 plus x. Well, just like I did on the second problem, I have this positive 3 right here. I'm going to subtract 3 from that positive 3 to get that x by itself. And I have to do it to both sides. 3 minus 3 equals nothing. 10 minus 3 equals 7. So 7 equals x, or x equals 7. Well, I put my 7 up here in my x. And 10 minus 7 does equal 3. So remember, when you're solving these algebraic equations, that equal sign is like the middle of a scale. Whatever we do to one side of the equal sign, we have to do the exact same to the other. And you always use inverse operations. Since I was subtracting my x, I needed to add the x. Okay? And like on the previous problems, when I was subtracting a number or I had to add the number, I had to use the inverse operations. I hope this helped you out. Feel free to check my other videos for any other math tutorials or math helps. I have some more on solving algebraic equations with multiplication and division as well.